Welcome to our news and thank you for joining us. I'm Natalia Hall. Topping news tonight, in the wake of that announcement that minimum wage would be increasing, residents are reacting, telling our news that it could have been higher. Bethany McDermott has the details.
While many Bahamians are commending the government on the decision to increase the minimum wage, there are those who feel the government could have given a bit more. Our news team took to the streets today, and here's what some residents had to say.
I wouldn't say it's enough, because for some people it's never going to be enough, but it's a start.
The announcement by the Prime Minister came during a live national address Tuesday night. At the time, the PM said the minimum wage will increase from $210 to $260, adding the increase was long overdue, saying it will eliminate the hardship many Bahamians are facing with rising inflation. This resident suggests the increase could have an impact on crime as well.
I feel that the minimum wage is excellent for the workers of this country because the cost of living is extremely high. They cannot make it with this minimal, measly money that they're paying them right now. And we need to be, so they can stop stealing. You know what I'm saying?
Meanwhile, this resident feels what needs to be implemented is a livable wage.
That's not big news to me. I think we need to look at more of a livable wage increase in the country. And that's a tough thing to do. But I think it's something that legislation should be passed to say, hey, you know, based on how a person can sustain life in this country and live in this country, we should look at a livable wage increase. What's comfortable? How could a person survive in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas outside of giving them a minimum wage?
Reporting for Our News, I'm Bethany McDermott.
Thanks, Bethany. While an increase in the minimum wage has some questioning if the hike will pinch the pockets of small businesses, when Prime Minister Philip Brave Davis was asked if he was concerned about those businesses having to shoulder a bump in minimum wage and a rate hike at BPL, the PM seemed confident that both timing and government assistance would make the load bearable for smaller companies.
We're not concerned about that. That's why we've given them notice for it. And we've done other things to assist small businesses to ensure that they'll be able to absorb those expenses and that they anticipate.
The PM was also asked to defend himself against those who say the minimum wage increase to $260 is not enough.
This is progress. It's a step towards getting to a livable wage. We appreciate it, and I acknowledge in my speech, if you listen, that this $260 minimum wage in these economic times may not be enough. I appreciated that. I've been there, and I understand when people sit around their table to decide what bill they cannot pay, or which bill they cannot postpone, or which bill cannot be postponed anymore. I anticipated that, but I said it's a step towards where we're going to a livable wage, and that's progress.
Now, Free National Movement leader Michael Pintard insisting the Prime Minister made tremendous promises to distract from serious issues. Our Sasha Lightborn has reaction to the PM's national address.
Free National Movement leader Michael Pintard was not impressed with the Prime Minister's national address on Tuesday night. Pintard says he's concerned about how the government plans on funding many of the promises that were outlined.
We challenge the Prime Minister to lay out his fiscal and economic plan, help us understand where he is getting the resources from to execute many of the initiatives that he's talking about.
Another major concern for Pintard, the National Insurance Board.
NIB is at a critical state. The Minister with responsibility for NIB clearly indicated that there may be a need for a rate increase given the treacherous position that NIB is in at the moment. We noted that the Prime Minister did not address this critical safety net issue that we thought should have been front and center in his discussion.
And he didn't stop there. Pintard also chastised the government over their handling of Bahamas Power and Light.
BPL is an albatross around the neck of the New Day government. They continue to spew untruths about the inevitability of the fuel surcharge. No, it was not inevitable.
The F&M leader wasn't against it all. He agreed with minimum wage being increased to $260 per week.
We have absolutely no difficulty with increasing the amount of funds made available to the most vulnerable in our community. And I say the most vulnerable because $50 will only impact those most vulnerable in the public service. And it also, what it does is it sets a standard for the private sector.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Sasha Lightborn.
Thanks, Sasha. The Department of Immigration detecting a significant spike in human smuggling this year, specifically from Cuba and Haiti. And as immigration officials tells us in this report, repatriations are becoming costlier than ever. Berthany McDermott reports.
Immigration officials say 2022 has been a significant year for human smuggling. They say this year has seen a significant number of migrants apprehended, resulting in the most money spent on repatriations. According to Immigration Director Katura Ferguson, $2.2 million has been spent on repatriation so far. A further breakdown of that figure revealing that January to June, $1.5 million was spent. July saw more than $30,000 spent. August saw over $703,000, and September to October 2nd saw over $32,000 spent on repatriations.
The Department of Immigration has noticed the increase of irregular migrants, particularly from Haiti and Cuba.
So far, 2,800 foreign nationals were apprehended and repatriated. 1,992 were Haitian nationals, 542 were Cuban, 76 were Jamaican, 56 were Ecuadorian, 48 were Dominican, and 90 were other nationalities like Brazilian, Russian, Pakistani, and Trinidadian, and many others. The director also explaining how costly these repatriations are.
It costs approximately $400 per person for repatriation to Haiti and $305 per person to Cuba.
In his national address Tuesday night, Prime Minister Philip Davis said that Bahamas doesn't have the resources to host and support undocumented migrants. The revelation came as he reiterated his decision for the Bahamas not to sign onto a declaration at the Summit of Americas last June. Immigration Minister Keith Bell says in response to issues facing Cuba and Haiti, government is working to combat the vexing issue. Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
And we're still following the crime situation in the Turks and Caicos Islands. TCI Governor Nigel Dakin says the arrival of the Bahamian police officers, as well as support from the United States Border and Protection, has had an immediate impact. Now, 20 officers from the Royal Bahamas Police Force were sworn in as constables in the Royal Turks and Caicos Islands Police Force last week, following a spree of murders over the past 2 months in Providenciales.
If it hasn't, it should have. If the gangs have gone to ground, they will be found. If gang members have moved overseas, we have international partners, including the UK's National Crime Agency and regional governments, who are solidly in support of helping us track them down. If our short measures are being effective, I promise our long-term measures have to be determinative.
He says the Bahamian officers have already made a difference.
Some are directly inducted into our tactical firearms unit, making one large joint team. Some are deployed as response units. Their dogs, able to attack or to search, were active at the airport yesterday, supporting our customs officers' search for guns and drugs. I, the Premier and Commissioner, and the people of the Turks and Caicos Islands are extremely grateful for what can only be described as very generous support from our steadfast neighbour. Bahamas, you have been your brother's keeper.
Temperatures getting up to 92 degrees today, and it's definitely not feeling like autumn yet. Meteorologist Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center, hopefully with news of a cool down. Good evening, Greg.
Thanks, Natalia, and a happy Wednesday evening, everybody. Current temperatures outside our studios right now, it's in the mid to upper 80s, 87 degrees under partly cloudy skies with a couple of small showers out there. Your winds are out of the southeast at 10 miles per hour, and your feels-like temperature hanging out at 89 degrees. Satellite view around the islands, a ridge of high pressure in charge of our weather at the low levels, but we do have a lot of moisture coming out of the Gulf of Mexico, all associated with Tropical Storm Carl, which formed yesterday evening. It's now continuing to push across South Florida. There is also a stationary frontal boundary across Central Florida. Both of those will combine to keep some showers and some isolated thunderstorms close to the northern Bahamas as that frontal boundary sags a little further south. So we're looking for more showers tonight through tomorrow. That's your first look at weather. Stick with us. A look at the tropics and your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on Our News, a former youth pastor sentenced for sex abuse of a preteen girl. Plus, members of the FNM criticize the government's crime response plan. And a special report how women can overcome the odds and achieve their goals in the workplace. Our News returns after this quick break.
What makes us experts? Every bite. And why?
Police releasing the identities of 3 recent murder victims, including a mother and son who were gunned down after an altercation. 51-year-old Bernadette Tynes and her 36-year-old son, Bertram McPhee, were fatally shot around 10 a.m. last Friday. Police say the Sutton Street residents were talking outside their home when a man who was being electronically monitored as a part of bail conditions for a murder charge opened fire, killing them. The third victim was identified as 40-year-old Andy Johnson of Blue Hill Road South. Johnson was killed in the western area of the Blue Hill Road Farmers Market after being approached and shot by a man wearing a camouflage jacket. A 24-year-old man accused of a 2017 shooting that killed an 8-month-old baby boy, and nearly killed his parents won't be tried until 2024. 24-year-old Anton Anthony Davis, who is on bail, was supposed to be tried for the murder of Shelton Tinker Jr. and the attempted murders of his parents, Shelton Tinker Sr. and Jeffrina Sweeting. However, the prosecution was not ready to proceed. As a result, Davis had to get a new trial date. His trial is now set for January 22, 2024. His alleged crime made headlines after police reported that a gunman forced his way into a home on Rupert Dean Lane around 3 a.m. on August 28, 2017 and fatally shot an infant while critically wounding his parents. A former youth pastor has been sentenced to 8 years in prison for sexually abusing a minor. 33-year-old Colton Aubrey wiped away tears as Senior Justice Bernard Turner delivered the sentence. A jury on July 7th convicted Aubrey of 2 counts of indecent assault and 2 counts of unlawful sexual intercourse. Aubrey, an orphan, met his victim's family through a church outreach program. He moved in with the family at age 16 and lived with them for 18 months. However, he betrayed the family's trust by molesting their then 12-year-old daughter, who viewed him as a brother, in 2016 and in 2017 when she was 13. At the time, Aubrey was 28 and married with 2 children. The court heard how Aubrey inappropriately touched the young girl on the pretext of tickling her. Turner sentenced Aubrey to 4 years for the indecent assault and 8 years for unlawful sexual intercourse. Those sentences will run together and take effect from his conviction date. Several members from the Free National Movement adding to their leaders' call for more to be done on crime. F&M Deputy Leader Shannon Cartwright and F&M Chairman Dr. Dwayne Sands both explaining that the government has to do more.
We have exceeded 100 murders, and yet there was still no plan and no leadership from the government in that regard. Last night, we heard no specifics as it relates to how we are going to make the Bahamian people feel at ease that the government has an answer.
The EMTs that go out into the field and bring injured patients into the emergency room, the staffs in our emergency rooms, in our operating theaters, in our ICUs and in our wards, they have made a huge difference in the murder count.
Prime Minister Philip Dave is urging the public to read the Moody's report for themselves to get a full understanding of its meaning. On October 6, Moody's Investors Service downgraded the government of the Bahamas' long-term issuer and senior unsecured ratings to B1 from Ba3, but they changed the outlook from negative to stable. The PM says the report also contained a lot of positives.
If you read the Moody's report, you would have seen that Moody's indicated that we are on the right track. Moody's indicated that the steps taken by this government are on the right track, and they commended our fiscal responsibility and our plans. Hence, why the downgrade? The debt has been downgraded, and so you have to understand what they did and appreciate it in the context in which it was. So the question really is mischaracterizing what they actually did. Understand what Moody's did. Read their report.
Meanwhile, F&M leader Michael Pintard had strong words for what he says was a spin on the recent Moody's report.
We do not wish bad for our country. We want us to succeed. We are aware that the OECD, a number of the European countries who are assessing our regulatory regime, that they are being patently unfair to the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. So we stand with the government in pushing back against this unfair treatment of our financial jurisdiction. However, what is true is that the mixed messages sent by this administration on our fiscal and economic affairs is what is worrisome for Bahamian investors, for international investors, and for rating and credit agencies.
All right, thanks, Natalia. I'm Marcellus Hall, and coming up in Sports for tonight, we'll tell you how the GHS Magic set to host their first ever cross-country meet. We'll also tell you how the NPSA hosting Pink Night as the championships get underway. That's all coming up in sports.
The PLP chairman shoots down rumors about former candidates seeking re-election. The message he has for party members. We have the details when our news returns. This is our news. Welcome back. Progressive Liberal Party Chairman Fred Mitchell addressing what he calls conspiracy theories in a recently released voice note that has gone viral. In that audio recording, Mitchell noted that there is a need for greater message discipline by the PLP. He also says no one has been given permission to canvass any area where there's a sitting member of parliament. His message coming on the heels of news that former PLP cabinet minister and former Golden Gates MP James Gibson plans to offer himself as the party's candidate for Mike Howell in the next general election.
It is so easy in this country to hide things in plain sight. It is so easy for conspiracy theories to run amok. I've said a couple of things to help keep people who are public officials and the electorate on the straight and narrow. One of them is, to the conspiracy theorists, 2 + 2 still make 4. The other is, before jumping to the conspiracy theory, how about looking to the rational and obvious answer?
The Fox Hill MP says the PLP Fox Hill branch will meet with the Mike Howell branch via Zoom, where the guest speaker will be Mike Howell MP Basil McIntosh. It's a meeting he says he looks forward to.
It's been a long time coming, and it follows a promise I made to keep in touch with the people of Mike Howell and to support their Member of Parliament, Mr. McIntosh, when I visited with them back in August. It is simple, straightforward, and routine. It is the role of the chairman.
A public school once known for athletic greatness now taking steps to regain its prominence. Government High School set to host cross-country this weekend. Marcellus Hall is up now.
All right, thanks, Natalia. Welcome to our sports, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. The GHS High School has been off by the wayside in terms of athletic prominence as of late, but they're looking to reclaim what was once a great name when it talked about sports in high school here in the country. They're starting by hosting their first ever cross-country championship this weekend. Let's take a look. Track and field enthusiasts with something to look forward to this weekend as Government High School getting set to host its first ever cross-country invitational. The meet will take place on Saturday, and according to the principal, it is going to be something special.
Excellence is important to us. Academics is important, but so is physical literacy, and that is what we are pushing to all of our students. I'm so happy that this year students are staying back. We have dray loads of them signing up to be a part of all of the sports events, and we're happy and excited about that. And I'm certain that Government High will bring home a lot of medals this upcoming school year in every category.
One of the school's coaches, Coach Penn, and she too says there'll be some good things coming out of this, something to be excited for the athletes and all participants.
Our cross country is double-fold. 1 for the kids for our physical fitness unit, and 2 for the athletes, the student athletes, to qualify for nationals. However, if you just want to be involved, you can come, you can brisk walk you can jog, or you can run, or you can do a combination of either. We teach in circuit training as well.
Meanwhile, the New Providence Softball Association getting ready to start its championship series over at the Blue Hills playing field. That being said, they'll celebrate by having a special event. With this being Breast Cancer Awareness, will be Pink Day at the park. NPSA executives inviting all fans and participants to wear pink to celebrate breast cancer awareness. And there it is, your check on sports for you here on this Wednesday. I'm Marcellus Hall. Back to you, Italia.
Still ahead on our news tonight, how Cable Bahamas is uplifting women in technology. That story is straight ahead. But first, Greg Thompson has your extended weather outlook. Stay with us. Welcome back to our news. There may be some rain ahead. Greg Thompson is back in the Weather Center with your extended weather outlook. Greg?
Thanks again, Natalia, and welcome back, everybody. We are tracking Tropical Storm Carl, which formed last evening in the Gulf of Mexico, or the Bay of Campeche, as it is really actually known. It's a tropical storm with 60-mile-per-hour winds continuing to drift towards the south and southwest, We expect that system to start to interact with landmass by the end of the week. A lot of showers and thunderstorms associated with the system, mainly offshore, but once it moves inland, we expect showers and thunderstorms to affect central Mexico and southern portions of Mexico. Moisture associated with the system is pushing towards north. It's going to be moving across South Florida and bringing us some cloudy conditions across the northwest Bahamas. As a matter of fact, there is also a stationary boundary right across Florida. Weak one, but we expect a frontal boundary that is actually across southeast Florida is going to continue to sweep towards the southeast and merge with that boundary. So we expect the front to get down into the northwest Bahamas by the weekend. So we could see some nice temperatures once the frontal boundary passes us for the weekend, but a couple of showers will remain in the forecast. The rest of the tropics quiet, and tropical cyclone formation is not expected throughout the next 5 days. Boating forecast for the northwest and central Bahamas tonight to tomorrow. Southeast to south winds at 10 knots. Those winds will fall light and variable at times. Seas 1 to 3 feet. Your high tide will be at 10:27 tonight. For the southeast Bahamas, your winds will be more east to southeasterly at 10 to 15 knots, and your seas will be running 2 to 4 feet over open waters. Here's a look now at your national forecast. In your extended forecast, those frontal boundaries, as I mentioned, will merge and get towards the northwest Bahamas by the weekend. So Thursday and Friday, we have quite a bit of shower, thunderstorm activity expected across the northern islands. And then that frontal boundary should wash out and move towards the south. Behind that, nice high pressure will be building in, and those temperatures will be coming down a bit. Very nice couple of days for the weekend. That's a look at our weather. Make it a safe night, everybody.
Thanks, Greg. The inaugural event in a series of women empowerment events hosted by Cable Bahamas Limited officially launching this morning at Bahamar. Now, a number of leading women within the company, as well as an international author, sharing advice and encouragement. Megan Shepard reports.
Chief Executive Officer at Cable Bahamas Limited, Franklin Butler, noting that women and young women are often underrepresented in various sectors, including science and technology. To this end, he says CBL is committed to tackling this issue.
We've done several events on women in leadership. We have our mentorship program. And so I personally thought it was great to have someone like Shelley, who represents a woman of color who's done exceptional work in Silicon Valley as a first, or one of the first African-American CEOs to really, be a model.
Public Relations Manager Jennifer Basden adding that Cable Bahamas is excited to launch this initiative, which will continue to draw international and influential women to the Bahamas with the message of conquering the world.
Cable Bahamas Limited and the group of companies is a company that's about the community and always giving back.
Keynote speaker and author of Unapologetically Ambitious, Shelley Archambault says she believes in impacting and inspiring the next generation. A successful CEO and board director, she shares advice on how to overcome the odds and achieve their goals.
So many of us, we get opportunities and we think, oh, we're not ready or we're not qualified or we shouldn't do it or we're not smart enough. And the bottom line is most people feel that way. So there are ways that you can convince yourself that you should just go for it anyway.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Megan Shepard.
What a great event to empower women. Thank you so much, Megan, and thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Natalia Hall. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great evening.